All right, so we are on a mission to build championship marriages all around this room and for all of the couples online as well. And one of the best ways to do that is to learn and practice the top 10 greatest marriage plays. And over the last couple of weeks, we have gone through some of them. Play number 10 was Choose Your Team. Play number 9 was Pursue Your Player. Play number 8 was Bring Your Brick. Because every marriage gets better when you lay small, intentional actions one on top of the other, brick by brick. And then last week, the greatest play was number 7, Play with Grace, and number 8, Use Your Words.
Yeah, we are having so much fun rolling out these greatest plays. And with that, use your words. We actually gave you the words to use. And none of them were particularly sophisticated. They were pretty easy. I'm proud of you. Thank you for that. I see how hard you're working and how hard you're trying. I'm on your side. And possibly the best words ever, I believe in you.
And in our book, The Relationship Rocket Formula, we give 30 marriage plays. Some of them might be like the, sorry, I lost my train of thought
the words,
here.
I mean, there's a lot of them. And in fact, next week, we're going to make the book available. If you would like a copy of it, we're going to have it available in the foyer. But there are 30 different plays in the book. And 30 is a lot. Let's face it, we can't even remember 10 in a moment of heat, let alone 30. So what we've done is we've whittled them all down to this formula. But in the book, we talk about them as being sort of like a car. On your car dashboard, you've got about 30 different levers, you've got dials, you've got gauges, you've got switches, and a marriage has about the same, about 30. And all of those we call the dashboard essentials. And in fact, we've got a quiz on our website that is a free quiz that assesses what are you strong in and what could you actually use some work in, which of these 30. But again, 30 is way too many to remember at one time, so we've whittled it all down to this formula, a 3-compound formula.
And we gave it to you last week, so it should be somewhere in your book, but it's the STP formula. Play number 7, Play with Grace, and play number 6, Use Your Words, fell under the S, which is selfless.
And let's face it, every single one of us has a default mode, and our default mode is self. It's a self-default mode. So when I'm just coasting along through life and I'm not being particularly intentional, I drift towards self. I drift towards self-centeredness, self-focus, self-protective, self-first. And it's interesting, you know, even after writing the book on this whole formula, with selfless being the first one, almost on a daily basis, I need to check myself. Whether in that moment I'm being selfish or being selfless.
Mm-hmm. And we both have to. Listen, we've heard it, we've seen it 100 times. The fastest way to blow up or to sink a marriage is to make it all about you. But tonight we move on to the next letter, which is T. And the T stands for truthful.
Yeah, so write that down somewhere, wherever you're building the formula, STP, selfless, truthful, and we're going to move on to greatest play number 5, Escape the Rut. Now, I want you to think about ruts. Here in Winnipeg, it's not so hard, right? How does a rut form? Well, a rut forms when you are driving over the same ground over and over and over and over again. So let's think about a marriage for a second. How many of you in this room have been married around 20 years? We're the 20-year people. Okay, I want you to think, we're all going to just kind of average it out to the 20-year people, okay? So if you're married about 20 years, here's some stats for you. You've eaten dinner together about 5,000 times. You've given about 150 cards and gifts to one another. You've asked each other, hey, how did you sleep? About 3,000 times. You've had about 520 disagreements or arguments. You've watched about 2,500 TV shows. You've sent about 14,000 text messages. You've slept together. You've gone to bed together about 5,000 times. And let's say on average, you had sex once a week. You've made love about 1,000 times.
Now, when you repeat anything that many times, you're bound to create deep ruts in your relationship. And a rut is when the same conversations, the same reactions, the same habits get repeated so often that your relationship has no life in it. Instead, you're both on autopilot. But like ruts in a road, they don't usually show up all at once. They form fairly slowly. The same routines, the same patterns, the same reactions, the same words, the same responses, just in a different day. And after a while, you're still married, you're still functioning, and you're doing life, but something really feels dull. It feels predictable, it feels boring, it feels monotonous.
Yeah, and not only predictable and boring and monotonous, but it's actually kind of dangerous because you end up feeling like there's this odd safety to a rut, and you begin to feel comfortable in that rut. A lot of couples, they don't realize it, but ruts actually suck the life out of a marriage. And when we came across this phrase, a definition for a rut, I love this. A rut is simply a grave with the ends kicked out of it. It's just a grave with the ends kicked out of it. Or in other words, a rut is where a marriage goes to die.
Now that sounds really morbid, but it's so true. Ruts not only drain life out of a marriage, but it can really mess with your head. When you're in a rut, it's easy to start thinking, is marriage really supposed to be this way? Something's wrong. Maybe we married the wrong person. Maybe we're not even meant to be together. And if you start thinking that you married the wrong person, then that might mean that the right person is out there somewhere and you need to find them.
Yeah. The Apostle Paul talks about a rut, actually. And now his rut wasn't because he was bored, but he kept running over the same road over and over and over again of troubles and trials and difficulties. And he talks about life being really cramped and being really constrained and constrictive. In fact, let me read you what he says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5. This is what it says. This is why we live with such good cheer. You won't see us drooping our heads or dragging our feet. Cramped conditions here don't get us down. They only remind us of the spacious living conditions ahead. It's what we trust in, but we don't see that keeps us going. Do you suppose a few ruts in the road or rocks in the path are going to stop us? When the time comes, we'll be plenty ready to exchange exile for homecoming. Now, Paul in Corinthians, he wasn't talking about marriage ruts here. He was talking really about life ruts, about getting discouraged in life and how he had to have a vision for something in the future. It wasn't about boredom and monotony. It was about the monotony of troubles. But note that the same results happen, whether you are in a rut because of trouble or you're in a rut because of boredom. Heads droop, feet drag, emotions dull, and meaningful life comes to a grinding halt as hope drains.
But in this passage, Paul begins to do some rut busting. And I can imagine him attaching a video camera over on a big pole over the rut and reminding the Corinthians that there is life beyond this. Look what's going on out there beyond the rut. Look, can you see it? So how does a couple escape a rut? Well, first of all, you need to acknowledge that you're in a rut. You need to name it. And that is why escaping the rut falls under letter T for truthful in the STP formula, because it takes guts and it takes willingness to be able to acknowledge that, yes, we are in a rut.
Yeah, and even as we say, you might be in a rut, or we have to be careful of ruts, right away your mind is racing like, oh, are we in a rut? What kind of ruts are there? Well, let's talk about that for a minute. There's the surface talk only rut. There's the defensiveness as your default rut. There's the all logistics, no laughter or fun rut. Some of us are in this next one, the screens every night rut. Some of us are stuck in that rut where we're just watching TV all the time. The no dating anymore rut. The same unresolved tension rut. The coexisting instead of connecting rut. The never touch anymore rut. Or the maintenance sex or predictable sex or no sex rut.
Yeah, and the tricky thing is that you don't just fall drastically into the rut. It happens slowly. And you actually build this rut in your marriage so slowly that sometimes you don't even realize that this is happening. But the good news is, the moment that you can name the rut, you've already started climbing out of it. So, don't just acknowledge the rut, though. Number 2, own the rut. And once you do, you're going to become one of 3 people when you first see a rut in your marriage. You'll either become an accuser, an excuser, or a chooser.
Yeah, this actually comes from Pastor Rick Warren, and he describes, of course, an accuser as somebody who says, this is your fault, this rut that we're in, and they ascribe the blame to the other person. An excuser says, well, it's the conditions. It's the circumstances around it. I couldn't help it. We're in this rut. But he says what you need to do is become a chooser. You need to become a chooser that says, you know what? I have a part in this. I need to own my part in getting us into this rut. The difficulty is that lots of couples, they can name or see their rut, but they'll never get out of it because they're stuck in this constant trap of either accusing or excusing. And really what you need to do is say, okay, I need to own this, that this is on me as much as it's on you. Now, let's move on to the next step.
Mm-hmm. So acknowledge the rut, own the rut, and thirdly, capture a snapshot. You need a picture of what your marriage could be. And you need to hold on to that picture. You know, Paul talked about this spacious living condition ahead in 2 Corinthians, and he was telling the people, look, there's heaven, and it is a much better place for us. He was giving them an idea and a picture of what they could look forward to. And he lifted their eyes out of the rut that they were in. Because you don't break out of a rut just by hating the fact that you're in a rut. You need to catch a glimpse of something better. And for Paul, it was heaven. And in marriage relationships, it is that something better on the other side of the rut that you are in. So, one way to do that is to use your words, make a vision board, create a bucket list that can give you a really awesome picture of what could be on the other side of the rut.
Yeah, we actually made our bucket list 5 years ago, and it's got 54 different items on it. We've already accomplished 31 of them, so that means we've got 23 left to go, and I hope we add some more to that. But a bucket list is a great way to catch a glimpse of what could be.
Yeah, you can, just make one small move. That's number 4. Make one small move. Shake things up a bit. Book a date. Go for a walk. Be the first to apologize. Cook a meal together that you've never cooked before. Declare a screen-free evening. Create a didn't see that coming type of moment.
Yeah. When you've been married 40 years like we have to constantly be on the lookout for ruts. And we have to constantly be willing to shake things up a little bit. And you actually did that about a year and a half ago. It was coming up towards my birthday, and Carolyn gave me a card. I didn't see it coming. I opened the card, and in there were plane tickets to Puerto Vallarta and a coupon for sailing school, because she'd heard me talking for so long about wanting to go to sailing school. And so she surprised me with this. Her intention was to bless me in this, but what she didn't understand was that I didn't want to just go to sailing school. I wanted to go to sailing school together.
Yeah, and I wasn't so keen on that because, you see, it wasn't my dream. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't even want to try. I didn't think I would like it. But when Todd expressed his desire that we do it together, I said, okay, let's give it a try. And I have to tell you, it was amazing. It turned out to be just one of the highlights of our married life. Because you see, neither of us knew the first thing about sailing, but we were learning together. There was a test to get certified. So after the 4 days of being at the school, we would be studying in the evenings together, and that was amazing. And doing something together that we had never done before really brought us closer.
It did. And so we graduated from sailing school, and then we came home. And a couple months later, on a Sunday night, I'm on Facebook Marketplace, and I think I found the perfect boat. And so I get the courage up, and on Monday morning, I came to you and said, Carolyn, I found the perfect sailboat for us.
And what do you think I said? What's wrong with it?
What do you mean, what's wrong with it? It's perfect, I said. It's 26 feet long, it's trailerable, so it's easy to get around. It sleeps 4 people, and it doesn't have a blow-in motor. It's got a brand new motor.
But what's wrong with it?
Well, it's 18 hours away in the Ozarks.
But what's wrong with it?
Okay, listen, it's got a little ding, but it's nothing I can't fix. I'm positive I can fix it.
What's really wrong with it?
No, that's it. That's all there is it's got a ding. That's it. So we ended up, and you said to me, I remember you said, well, okay, go for it. Have a nice long drive.
I did.
Yeah, but I didn't want a nice long drive. I wanted you to come with me.
Yeah, he wanted me to come, and I really fought it for a while, but then I gave in. I said,
well, you
okay.
didn't have too long because we left Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
And so it was Monday morning. I told you about it Monday afternoon. We left on this 18-hour drive that stretched somehow into a 4-day experience. And we ended up, long story short, why don't you tell it?
Yeah, when we got there, I discovered what Todd meant by a little ding in the boat. Yeah. It wasn't just a little ding. It was a big hole. Well, we dragged that boat home. Todd fixed it. And a month later, we headed out onto Lake of the Woods for our first overnight on the water sailing experience. And it was so awesome.
We laughed together. We had so much fun.
And we marveled at the power of the wind.
And we made some sailing mistakes and hit a bunch of rocks.
And we read, and we barbecued, and we lit a candle, and we killed some mosquitoes.
And 40 years in, we chalked up another rut that we escaped. We got out of a rut that we were in. We created some memories. We did some stuff we'd never done before. We reignited the spark again.
And that's why Escape the Rut belongs under the T, because the moment you tell the truth about where you are, you create the possibility of something amazing, taking your marriage to a different place.
Okay, we are going to hand it back to Jordan and Cam, and they got a little bit of instruction for us, and then we'll carry on. All right, we are back, and thanks for all the discussion around the table. We hope those of you at home have had a chance to also engage on those questions. Some really great processing that's going on there.
So you may not remember the 10 greatest marriage plays. You may not remember 30 dashboard essentials, but every day you can ask yourself, is this thought, is this action, is this response, is this attitude, is this choice selfless? Is it building up my spouse? Or is it selfish?
Yeah, that's why I've got this bracelet. I made one for Carolyn as well. And it simply says, it's got the code on it, and selfless and truthful. And so I put those things through too. Like, is this action? Is this word? Is this? And I caught myself today. You asked me to do something, and I got grumpy. And then I thought, oh, no. Selfless. I want to be selfless. So the second one, though, is my thought, is my action, is my choice. Is it truthful? Am I being absolutely determined to face reality, or am I hiding something?
Which brings us to the greatest marriage play, number 4, play in the open.
Okay, tell me if this is familiar to any of you. You're sitting in a room by yourself. Somebody walks in, could be your spouse or a kid or an employee or somebody walks in, and instantly you hide something.
Maybe it's your phone. Maybe it's a book that you're reading. Maybe it's another Amazon box.
Yet another Amazon box. Maybe it's a credit card statement or a speeding ticket. Might be a bag of chips that you swore off of. I'm not having any more junk food, and there you are with a bag of chips. Maybe it's something on your computer screen that you would sort of be a little bit embarrassed if the other person saw.
We might hide text conversations. We might hide a bottle of alcohol, a stash of chocolate, a show we're watching, or a porn site we're visiting. So why do we do that?
Because there is something inside of each of us that it's an instinct. It's an instinct to hide things. And it didn't just come on recently. This is something that's actually recorded in the Bible, the very beginning of the Bible, in the very first ever marriage. We find that this instinct to hide things is talked about.
Yeah, it's in Genesis chapter 3, verse 8, and we read it. Read this. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God, and they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Their very first instinct after sin entered the world was to hide. And that instinct still lives in each one of us today. And that's why greatest marriage play number 4 is play in the open.
Yeah, we learned the value of playing in the open really early in our marriage, and I'm so glad we did. We'd been married for about 5 years, and Carolyn was pregnant with our first daughter. She was also working at the same time, and I was a youth pastor. And our denomination had a prayer retreat out at Elkhorn Lodge, about 250 pastors and spouses all gathered together for a couple of days of conferencing. And so I ended up going solo. Carolyn had to stay home and work. And so I go to this prayer retreat gathering with all these pastors, and something happens. I'm in the first session, and there we are worshiping Jesus and hearing the word and all this stuff. And I look across the room and I spot this woman who's got a blonde ponytail coming out of her ball cap. And instantly, I'm attracted. Really attracted. So now I'm trying to worship and I'm trying to focus, and I keep looking over. And the fact that her husband was sitting right beside her didn't seem to matter at all. I knew that Carolyn was 350 kilometers away. She would never know about this stolen glance or this moment. And so during this first session, I just kept looking over at her. And finally, I got a grip, and I thought, what is going on? I'm a pastor at a prayer conference, worshiping Jesus, and incredibly attracted to another woman. I got to get a grip. And so I tried to wrestle these emotions down. And finally, the session came to an end, thank goodness. And some youth pastor friends of mine came up to me and they said, hey, we're having a party over at our chalet. We're going to have a bunch of snacks. We're going to play a bunch of games. You want to come? And I thought, yes, anything to get me away from Ponytail Girl will be great. So I go crunching through the snow over to this chalet and get in there, and all my friends, youth pastor friends, are there. Take off my jacket, take off my boots, walk into the living room. Who comes walking around the corner with a big smile and a bowl of chips but Ponytail Girl? Right up to me. Would you like some chips? I don't even remember the excuse I made, but I got out of there as fast as I could. And I remember crunching my way back through the snow and thinking, wow, this is amazing. This little gold band on the finger does not magically make me immune to temptation. And if I want to kill this temptation, I'm going to need to do something really quite drastic. So I made my way to a payphone.
And the phone rang late at night. And the minute I answered, I could tell that something was wrong. And Todd said, I've got something I need to tell you. And he told me everything about Ponytail Girl and his attraction to her and about the battle that was going on in his mind that night. And I'm not going to pretend to let you know that my response was completely calm, completely spiritual. No, it was not. I was hurt. I was 25 years old, and I had this mindset that, oh, Todd's always only going to be attracted to me. He would never be attracted to anybody else. I was confused. I was angry. And I was really scared. What does this mean for our marriage?
Yeah, in all honesty, it took about a year of processing that, and it was hard. It was hard for you. It was hard for me. It was especially hard every time a woman with a ponytail sticking out of a ball cap walked by, because you would say, "Oh, you're attracted to her? Are you attracted to her?" And I mean, that went on for a long time, and that was just hard.
But you see, in that moment, Todd decided that he would rather deal with short-term pain and create long-term trust. He'd rather deal with short-term pain and create long-term trust. And I can tell you that is exactly what happened. Because even though this situation, you might hear it and you think, oh, that's nothing, that was really small. It was. And I'm so glad that Todd chose to deal with it immediately. Because, you know, Scripture talks about in the Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 15, it says, catch the little foxes that ruin the vineyard. In other words, it's often the little things that sneak in and they cause the most damage over time if we don't take care of them. And Todd wasn't about to allow even something so small as this, as a little attraction, to impact our relational health or the longevity of our marriage. It mattered too much to him. And he would do whatever it would take to make sure that our relationship, our marriage, was protected for right then and there, and also for the future. And out of that experience came 2 declarations for us. And the first one was, no secrets. No matter how hard it is to talk about something, we will keep no secrets from each other.
Yeah, and the other one you've heard me say quite often around here, which is, what is spoken can be broken. You see, when we bring these things out into the light, into the truth, is where they lose their power. The door that leads to trust, it swings on twin hinges of vulnerability and transparency. What stays hidden in your life, what you continue to hide, will only grow in the dark corners of your soul, and nothing good is going to come of that. Eventually, that darkness in the corner of your soul that you hide will end up taking over, whether it's an attraction, an addiction, a lie that you're living, or a secret that you're keeping. But when you bring that, and that's exactly what I did, and when you bring that thought or that temptation or that struggle or that addiction or that attraction out into the light, kicking and screaming, it loses its power, and the light of truth neutralizes it.
And as you might expect, the Bible has a lot to say about this. In the Old Testament book of Proverbs, chapter 28, verse 13, it says, people who conceal their sins will not prosper, but if they confess and turn from them, they will receive mercy. And in the New Testament book of James, chapter 5, verse 16, we're told what happens when we open up and we tell the truth. It says, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. Telling the truth and the reality of what's really going on can be scary, and it can be really, really tough to do. But on the other side of that tough stuff, the Bible says that is where you are going to find healing, you're going to find restoration and connection and freedom. And I know this because a few years later, I was feeling something similar to Todd, and I had a confession. I sat him down and I said, I've got to tell you something. I'm really embarrassed about this, and I have this trepidation to even say this, but over the last few months, I've really been feeling disconnected from you. I feel like you're so absorbed in your work that you're not even seeing me anymore. And I've been getting these emails from a guy who serves with me, and they're so encouraging. And I've got to be honest, these encouragements, and I don't think he means anything by them, but these encouragements are making my mind go somewhere else because I'm feeling really seen, and I'm feeling really appreciated. And while the emotions of that are now stirring up something inside of me that I know aren't healthy, and they're actually messing me up a little bit.
And I came to Carol and said, no problem. Just tell me who encouragement guy is and he'll never encourage you again. No, I didn't say that. It actually messed me up. It messed me up, and I found out what it was like to be on the other side of the confession. And that was a difficult place to be.
Well, after I let Todd know what was going on inside of me, I was set free, and that vulnerability and that transparency swung the doors wide open to trust between us even more.
Yeah, so we want to give you a simple little phrase. We love giving you practical things that you can use. And so we want to give you a simple little phrase in moments where you need to open up and disclose and talk about something. This might be a good phrase to begin that conversation.
And it is, can I unzip my soul for a moment? You know, and I think that phrase works really well for husbands or for wives, but maybe especially for husbands. And I know you have found that phrase really helpful.
Yeah, there's lots of times actually as a guy. First of all, I'm not always as in touch with my emotions and don't know how to talk about them or name them or what I'm feeling. Sometimes I'm not sure how you're going to receive something or hear something or react. So it kind of cushions that a little bit. It sort of opens that up a little bit. Sometimes I just haven't even got it figured out. And so by saying, hey, can I unzip my soul for a minute? Interpretation would be, hey, something is going on inside of me and I don't want it to live in the dark corner of my soul. I would rather shine the light of truth on it, but I can't do it alone. I need some help with this. And so I'm just wondering if we can have a conversation about this, and I'm pretty sure that if I can shine a light on this thing, that it'll probably lose its power, that we'll probably gain some connection, but this could be a little bit of a bumpy conversation. So is it okay if I unzip my soul a little bit?
And there might be times that it's not even a good idea to unzip your soul with your partner, depending on what it is. We shared, you know, what we did. But that's not always the case for everybody.
No, sometimes you might want to do that, and you'll still be as healthy to do that with a counselor, a therapist, a pastor, a trusted friend of the same gender, somebody that you can talk to, maybe even begin processing it there. So we're not saying that instantly you should take all of your stuff and dump it on your spouse, because you have to have some discernment there. That might not even be the best person, but as much as you can share with your spouse and as early as you can share with your spouse. And we found that 35 years ago, that set the pace for the next 35 years for us, because now we're opening up and sharing those sorts of things.
You know, the enemy loves secrecy because secrecy keeps the woundedness of our heart infected. And so the enemy is going to do everything he can to make sure that you're hiding, make sure that you're keeping that thing a secret. But the light is where God heals and he restores and he makes things whole again. There's no doubt that hiding feels safer. No doubt about that. But it slowly does push husbands and wives apart. And truth might feel harder in the moment, but it opens the door to healing and to freedom and a deeper trust.
Yeah. Now, part of my job this week was to come up with some questions for the knee to knee husband and wife conversation time. And I thought, oh boy, I want to be really careful here. I don't want anybody thinking that this is the time to suddenly, tell everything. And so we've got some well-curated questions that I think are pretty safe. But we really think this is a great moment for you to at least talk a little bit about these two talks, both of them that come under the T, right? And about getting out of ruts and about being swinging open and living in the open. So we value this time a lot. We're going to give you a full 10 minutes to have a conversation in the room. You can spread out. You can find a place. We do encourage knee to knee, like literally facing your chairs together and maybe away from some other couples where you can take the next 10 minutes. The questions will be on the screen at home as well. The questions will be on the screen, and we encourage you to take some time to talk through these questions.